We are in Chesapeake, Arizona. Right behind me is the legal port of entry towards Mexico and from Mexico into Chesapeake, Arizona. This is an area where, by the way, only 3 people live. The small town in Pima County, Arizona is one of those places that many Americans consider a place at the front line of the U.S. struggle with illegal immigration, with drug and human trafficking, and with cross-border crime in general. A militia made some headlines in the last few weeks, the Arizona Border Recon. Like others in similar militia groups across the U.S., members of Arizona Border Recon do what they say is their patriotic duty.
Just strolling down the road like no care in the world for illegals, keeping an eye on them. Call Border Patrol.
Protecting the United States from what, in their view, amounts to a never-ending onslaught of migrants who try to sneak into the country illegally, from hordes of drug and human traffickers and from Mexican cartel members.
Groups like Veterans on Patrol, Border Recon, there's a whole crew of them in Arizona in particular, who claim to be turning over migrants to CPB or hunting them down in some way. I mean, it's hard to know. This is all self-reported activity, basically.
That's why they patrol the border, they say. That's why they are trying to be an extra pair of eyes and ears, sometimes even an extra pair of hands for federal Border Patrol agents.
There they go. They got 3 more. That's 5. There's another 3 or 4 on the other side of the property. Don't have to go anywhere. Right at the top of my driveway.
Overall, illegal immigration has dropped significantly in the United States, from the thousands every day in 2023 to hundreds here and there across the Mexican-US border. If things have improved at all lately at the US southern border, then in the minds of most militia border warriors, it is thanks to one man and one man only, President Donald Trump.
We also have an illegal immigration crisis, and it's taking place right now as we sit here in this beautiful arena. It's a massive invasion at our southern border that has spread misery, crime, poverty, disease, and destruction to communities all across our land. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Fast forward from July 2024, now just a few weeks back in the White House, President Trump took to X to celebrate, quote, the lowest number of illegal immigrants trying to enter our country in history, end quote. Trump's boast follows a post by the U.S. Border Patrol chief saying that in February this year, USBP, quote, apprehended 8,326 illegal aliens at the U.S.-Mexico border, making it the lowest month in recorded history, end quote. We're leaving Chesapeake and head up north to Phoenix, Arizona to meet and talk to the American sheriff. That is Mark Lamb, who served as sheriff of Pinal County for the last 8 years. How would you like me to address you, Mr. Lamb or Sheriff Lamb or American Sheriff? You got so many labels, so to speak.
Whichever, look, most people still call me sheriff. Once you're, it's like a doctor. Once you're a doctor, you're kind of always that. I still call guys that have been sheriffs, haven't been sheriffs for 20 years, we still call them sheriff, so.
Okay. Lamb is somewhat of a folksy rock star in Trump's mega universe, at least in regard to all things immigration and border.
Sheriff Mark Lamb. Thank you. Hey. He's popular. Sheriff, would you like to run for another office? I think that's a big head you got, Sheriff.
Lamb just retired as sheriff in December 2024. He had to, because he ran for the U.S. Senate on this platform.
As the sheriff of Pinal County, I have been on the front lines of this border fight. I have personally carried the dead bodies from the ditches, rescued children from sex trafficking, and arrested gang members and drug dealers. I know what deadly drugs and the criminals peddling them are doing to families and communities. Washington needs a new sheriff in town. I'm Sheriff Mark Lamb. Let's get to work.
But that didn't work out as planned.
I ran for the U.S. Senate, which I wasn't successful. Well, let me rephrase that. I didn't win the election, but I can't say that I wasn't successful because I was in the arena. You know, I tried.
Not in political office and retired from law enforcement, Lamb is still a staunch supporter of pretty much everything President Trump puts forward, implements, and stands for in the area of immigration control and border security. Has the situation from your point of view already changed for the better, or is it still as you and others have said, a broken scenario or a broken situation where we are at the moment?
That's a great question. That's a two-part piece of it, what you added at the end. So the border security is better. Immigration has to be fixed by Senate and Congress. So that will stay broken until they fix it. But border security, that piece of it has gotten better. The statistics speak for themselves. You know, we were as a high of 11,000 people a day coming into the country that they admit to. I think those numbers were actually probably higher than that. Now we're around 200 to 250 people that are being caught at the border every day. So how can you not say that what they're doing is working? Where I think they're really having success is messaging. I kept saying for 4 years, the messaging of the Biden administration was terrible. It made people think that it was okay to come here to this country. And so the messaging has made a difference. The second thing that's made a difference is we are actually meaning what we say and saying what we mean.
It was these images from Eagle Pass in December 2023 and before which arguably helped give credibility to President Trump's position on immigration. He had promised a radical reset on immigration while campaigning for the job he now holds. And he delivered. Trump revived 27 immigration policies he implemented during his first term and added 7 new ones in what many called a blitz of executive orders on day one in the Oval Office. Critics say he, with a stroke of a pen, virtually closed the US southern border and made it very hard, if not nearly impossible, to ask for political asylum.
Consensus was, until Trump's first term in office, both on the Republican and the Democratic side, generally pro-immigrant, generally concerned about national security issues with the border, but not demonizing immigrants themselves. That has completely shifted. The GOP is now a rabidly anti-immigrant party with leaders across the board using this invasion rhetoric or talking about immigrants primarily in derogatory terms. You know, criminals, violent, poisoning our blood, to use one term Trump used. That is a very, very stark change in our politics.
The Customs and Border Protections app that the Biden administration had used and that allowed migrants to apply for asylum from as far as Mexico City was immediately shut down. The Pentagon was ordered to send more active duty soldiers to the border immediately. Mexico was urged to send more of its security forces to the border.
They've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country.
We are visiting Eagle Pass, the 28,000 residents Texas border town of fame. Of faded and distant fame, perhaps. By the time Donald Trump visited here in 2024, the border crisis had largely subsided, says America Garcia Grewal, a local pro-immigration activist and border communities advocate.
We've had a very quiet time here in Eagle Pass and along the border since December of 2023, when the Biden administration went to Mexico City and started working with the Mexican government to slow the flow of migration.
We are meeting Grewal to show us around in Eagle Pass. She is concerned about what she calls the increasing and unnecessary militarization of this community and other border towns. First stop, a U.S. forward operating base just on the outskirts of Eagle Pass. 1,500 Texas National Guard personnel are deployed here.
If you talk to these folks, again, many of whom have combat experience, they keep comparing it to foreign countries. And it's like, we're not a foreign country. We're in the United States.
The soldiers didn't just make camp here a few weeks ago. They have been here since February 2024 as part of Texas Governor Greg Abbott's so-called Operation Lone Star. Their mission? To support U.S. Border Patrol / Customs and Border Protection agents with their job, protecting the border.
January the 3rd of 2024, we had 64 U.S. congressmen come out here, and they looked to the left, they looked to the right, and they said, there's nobody here. What's going on? 1 week later, the state of Texas invaded. They took away the city of Eagle Pass property, and they said, we're here, that's why no one's here. Yes. Now, those of us that live here, we're like, no, they were gone before you ever got here. But unfortunately, our media have a short attention span. Our American public has a short attention span, and they didn't pay attention to all the sequence of events, and they said, oh yes, the state of Texas repelled an invasion, when actually it was the state of Texas that invaded and took away the city of Eagle Pass property.
So it's a political stunt.
Oh, it's completely political theater.
Political stunt or not, it is not only the presence of increasing numbers of U.S. military assets at the border and in Eagle Pass that concern Grewal. She is also quite baffled by the fact that private militia groups seem to keep showing up around here. Does that compute with you, what's going on in their heads, or?
You know what? I welcome volunteers. I have elders who have roofs that need to get repaired, and they've got doors that need to have weatherproofing. I have a ton of things that I would like volunteers to help with, but patrolling the river is not one of them.
Donald Trump's rhetoric and actions to, as he puts it, shield the U.S. from an onslaught of illegal immigrants is music to the ears of many private militia-type groups in California, New Mexico, Arizona, and in Texas.
I'm going to show you a couple of things.
When Eagle Pass was so hot in this effort, that was essentially pro-Trump rallies that were involved in that. It was Christian nationalists, militia groups, etc. And it was a form of pro-Trump rallying, not just about doing something about immigration, but, standing up for an anti-immigrant agenda.
One of the militias answering what they feel is a presidential call for duty at the border, the Patriots for America militia.
We're a Christ-centered, we're a 508c1a nonprofit ministry that just so happens to also be a militia.
The PFA militia operates in and around Eagle Pass and in other parts along the U.S.-Mexico border. Their self-declared mission? To support federal border patrol agents in their battle against illegal immigrants, their cartels, and traffickers.
We typically operate with 15 to 20 guys on any rotation.
Donald Trump, back in the Oval Office, is a gift to them.
It's like waking up every day to Christmas. Thank God Trump took over. We've been on the border now for, almost 3.5 years. Now that Trump is in office, hopefully we can get away or at least tone down our border initiative.
Patriots for America militia, Hall insists, operates within the confines of the law.
We assist law enforcement in whatever they need. If they need an area covered that they're, very light staffed in, they can't cover certain areas, we'll cover those areas. Otherwise, we just kind of back them up, and we're the eyes and ears, for them. If we come across, immigrants, of course, we'll call BP and they can process them. But we don't arrest and we don't detain. We believe it or not, it's when they see us, they stay put. We can't chase after them. We can't handcuff them. We can't do any of that.
Hall and his comrades in arms strongly believe in their purpose, in their mission, as they put it.
Now, the question is, are they actually still needed, objectively needed, as the numbers of migrants trying to come into the country here are down, vastly down?
Since there are just not that many attempts of illegal entries into the US anymore, their focus has now shifted on drugs trafficking and human trafficking.
Distract, disrupt, and frustrate the cartel logistics from human trafficking. And secondly, which really became our primary, is to identify children that are being trafficked by the cartels and make sure that they're safe.
Border militia members see themselves as, solving or assisting or being part of the solution for lowering crime or solving drug trafficking. But drug trafficking is going to happen one way or another because there are people in the U.S. who consume drugs.
However, US border security, illegal immigration, drug and human trafficking, all destined to remain political hot buttons at the top of the president's agenda. And now, the second time around, the president wants to finish the border wall.
I think the president's hope is that by the end of the term, we build the entire border wall.
And on the orders of Donald Trump, the Pentagon announced it will send some 3,000 more active duty troops to the US-Mexico border, bringing the total number to roughly 12,000 deployed along the frontier soon. With all that, border militias may be a thing of the past, or perhaps not. After all, this is the new America, according to Donald Trump.